Iced oatmeal cookies are such a nostalgic recipe for me, and I'm sure for a lot of y'all out there too. They remind me of sneaking into my grandma's pantry and grabbing a handful of those cookies in that pink and purple carton. The thing is, once you get a little bit older and your taste buds mature and not all sugar tastes like actual heaven, you start to see that those store-bought cookies of your childhood just aren't as good as you thought they were. The base of the cookie is really simple. We've got our all-purpose flour, our baking soda, salt, and cinnamon. You gotta have cinnamon in the base of your oatmeal cookie recipe. Just gives it a little bit of extra warmth and flavor. Add 1 cup of all-purpose flour, a half teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 teaspoon of fine sea salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon to a small mixing bowl and give it a good whisk. Set that aside and move on to the wet ingredients. So for the wet ingredients, we're gonna kick it off with some unsalted melted butter. Now, the temperature of your butter is actually pretty important, especially when it comes to cookies. Because that butter is melted, it's gonna give us a nice spread on your oatmeal cookies, and it's also gonna help those edges to crisp up perfectly. Add 2/3 cup of melted unsalted butter that's been slightly cooled, a half cup of light brown sugar, and a half cup of granulated sugar to a medium-sized mixing bowl, and use a handheld mixer on medium-high speed to mix for about 2 minutes. This step is actually pretty important. What we're doing here is making sure that that butter is cooled down and not hot before we add in the rest of our wet ingredients. You really want to mix this for 2 minutes. It's very important for the overall texture of the cookie. So you're going to set a 2-minute timer and you're going to mix until you see that butter and sugar mixture start to thicken up a little bit. After the 2 minutes is up, you'll add in 1 large egg and 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Mix that again on medium-high speed until everything is evenly distributed. It's a good practice before you add in your dry ingredients that you scrape down the sides of your bowl. This will help to make sure that all of the egg and butter and sugar are all evenly mixed up and you don't end up with any crazy wonky cookie edges. Now you're gonna add in your dry ingredients and mix on low until just combined. Go ahead and scrape down the sides of the bowl one more time and mix again. And now for the oats. In this recipe, you need to use old-fashioned rolled oats. They are what's going to give this cookie the perfect chewy, oaty texture. Now you'll add 2 cups of old-fashioned oats. Mix on low until they're evenly distributed all throughout the cookie batter. No subbing in quick oats, old-fashioned all the way. Add generous tablespoons of batter to the prepared baking sheet, spacing each cookie about 2 inches apart. Then you'll bake in a preheated 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for 10 to 12 minutes. Your cookies are ready as soon as you start to see those edges tinging a perfect golden brown. And then if you want to speed up that cooling process, you can transfer the individual oatmeal cookies to a cooling rack. Now these cookies get finished off with a thick vanilla glaze. This is my favorite part, and it's what separates this from just your standard old oatmeal cookie to that cookie of our childhood dreams. Add 1 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of whole milk, about a half teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and a pinch of fine sea salt to a small mixing bowl, and whisk until combined. This may look like it will never ever smooth out, but I promise, just keep whisking and eventually it'll form a really nice smooth glaze. And while we're on the subject of icings and glazes, we recently made a chocolate chip sandwich cookie with a vanilla buttercream frosting in the center. If you have not seen those cookies yet, you're gonna wanna click that before you head out today. Gently dip the tops of the oatmeal cookies into the icing and yo-yo it up and back into the icing a few times, allowing the excess icing to drip right back into the bowl. Transfer the cookie back to the cooling rack and allow the icing to set for about 20 to 30 minutes. This is so good.